Welcome to the Love Your Inner Athlete podcast, your go-to source for all things mental fitness in sports. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or parent, you will learn as you join us to dive into inspiring conversations with those who have worked to develop their mental fitness. You will hear from people who have put in the work as either an athlete, coach, or a parent. In each episode, we bring you discussions and expert insights on developing resilience, focus, and mindset. Discover the concepts of mental fitness and learn how to use it to create consistent, durable confidence in both sports and life. I'm your host, Hans Schulstad. Let's get started. Welcome to the Inner Athlete Podcast. I'm Hans Schulstad. This is the place where we talk all things mental fitness and take deep dives into it. Today, we're happy to be joined by Ben Gordon, an assistant coach at the University of Minnesota. He played for the Gophers. He coaches for the Gophers. And we met each other through Minnesota hockey over the years. And so I asked him to jump on and he agreed. So it's great to have you, Ben.
Hey, glad to be here. Anytime we can get down, sit down, get a time with you.
Tell me a little bit about how you ended up being a Gopher.
I mean, I grew up north, and the town I grew up in, International Falls, is a pretty green town for North Dakota. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it had a lot to do with the TV, the Gophers being on TV, and back when I was a little kid and I wanted to play here. And as soon as I played here, I knew I wanted to coach here. And, kind of the ball just got rolling. I met my wife here. My family is ingrained here. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah. Well, so what does it mean? What does it mean to you that you both played and coached there? The
fact that I got the opportunity to play here is the reason that I wanted to coach here, because I just had so much fun here. It's a big part of my life now. Like I said, I met my wife. Have kids, all because of a lot of stuff that went down here, and I knew I wanted to get back here. So it's pretty special to me that I have been able to do both. I don't take it for granted, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, on your journey to the U of M, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in juniors or in college hockey?
It's a good question. It's a broad question. For me, I was an undersized forward coming out. Had to deal with all that. That was tough to try to navigate through junior hockey, being a little bit different back then. Bigger guys, different type of game. It was tough for me to try to navigate being away from home for the first time and doing all that. Those were probably the biggest challenges that I faced, right away. And then especially coming to the U, having come from International Falls, it's an eye opener. It's a lot bigger environment. There's more kids in my first lecture than I were in my high school. You know what I mean? So it's, it's an interesting, dynamic in that regard. So that was, probably a lot of the challenges I maybe faced, obviously, can play into how things are going hockey wise. But I think a lot of the challenges I faced were, socially and out in the, getting out and experiencing things for the first time outside of the rink.
Well, and so how would you say your perspective has changed as a coach, now that you're a coach and not a player?
Yeah, it's so different. I mean, anything from, we were having a couple Cokes and a frozen pizza, on a Thursday night before the North Dakota series. And now, you see our guys coming into the room and, just players are just much more dedicated. And that's just kind of the way that it's seemed to go, with their nutrition, with their mental health, with their, the way they take care of themselves and the speed of the game and how, your body is your business. And college, especially, I feel has taken a big jump in that area. And it's way more professional and kids carry themselves and, treat themselves, as a business more so than it was back in the day. I think that's a huge.
Remind me the years you played at Minnesota.
I was here 2004 through 2008.
So were you a part of that team that was in that epic series with Mankato?
I was. That was my senior year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember watching those games.
So overtimes, a bunch of crazy things. And we kind of had an up and down year, battled with injuries and all that. And we had to get in. It was actually the one year we were, flirting with not making the tournament, and that kind of sealed our deal. But we went on a kind of a run after that. It was pretty good. So that was an epic series. I get asked about that a lot.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching all those games and being on the edge of the seat and being nervous. I don't know if I told you this before. Gopher hockey is a big part of my extended family. So Gopher hockey is the one team that everybody cheered for. So Otherwise, like all the other sports, there was different ways to go. So when I was a kid, we'd go to the old Mariucci, go to a weekend series and pick a weekend when there was a basketball game.
Yeah.
We'd do all three. So yeah.
I like that.
So when it comes to like the mental side of hockey, what's something you know now that you wish you knew then?
For me personally, it's a tough game, especially when you get to these levels. You play against good players. You're not going to find success every shift. You're not going to find success every game. You're probably not going to find success that you want every week or every month or even maybe year to year. I wish I would have been a little bit better at letting stuff roll off my back and not letting things compound into, as you get older. I do that as an adult too. Don't get me wrong, in a different way, but the guys that can, let things roll off their back and just look, the next 6 inches in front of their face instead of dwelling on, what's happened. It's hard to do in our sport, especially at the high levels. But I think, if I could pick a skill that I would have been better at, it, would have been, minimizing frustrations and just letting things roll off my back and try to face what's coming next.
So how do you help players do that?
Just probably more so because I deal with them from day to day and you hear them and I talk to them about it. And I'm not an expert in that realm, but I've, been through a lot of the same stuff that those guys have been through. And I'm, like you said, I'm not an expert, but I can just draw a little bit off my struggles and my experiences that I've had coming through here. And I mean, it's just a staple for most kids, just to a varying degree.
Do you feel like the view of working on that part of the game has changed since you played?
100%. I mean, I know here at the U, we got, mental health department that our guys work with. I mean, it's become a way more mainstream thing than ever. I know even back when I was here, some guys, would, talk to people here and there and, focus a little bit on their mental health, but nowhere near to the capacity that our guys do today and are feel comfortable looking into it for assistance. It seems that for me on the surface as a coach.
Well, that's a good thing to hear. And it's a good thing to hear that your guys are doing it. So yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about the term mental fitness. You ever heard me talk about that?
I mean, I've heard you, refer to it.
What does the term mental fitness mean to you?
Oh gosh, again, I suppose I'm not an expert, but for me, I guess it would be, I just know from my standpoint, things are going well on the ice, or we're going well on the ice, or well in coaching when I'm well-rounded in the rest of, my life, when things are going well at home, things are going well at school. I think that's, the one thing that, kind of how you do anything is how you do everything. And, if your things are intact and your family life's great or your school life's great, a lot of times things will fall into place on the ice. And I think that's, kind of something that I try to instill in my kids, our guys here, and try to live by a little bit myself as well.
Okay. So you've coached and played in a lot of big games. How have you, is your preparation any different for big games?
Yeah. I mean, the nerves are there when you're a player, and everybody learns how to handle them better as you go through it and you work your way up the ranks. But usually you get out there, you get one bump, or you get, touch the puck, you get hit, you forget about it. I think it's worse as a coach. I mean, once the game starts, you kind of don't have much control on what's going on. You're just kind of waiting. So that's a challenge for me to stay calm and try to be a calm presence on the bench and keep the guys, because I live it just like they do and we all do, and we're all competitive. And so I think that's a big challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that as a parent too.
Yes, 100%.
It's how old are your kids again?
My son's going to be 12 here in a few days, and I got a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old daughter. So yeah, no, you're 100% right. I agree with you.
Yeah. Do they play hockey too?
Yeah. My son plays hockey. My 2 daughters are, one's softball and soccer, and the other one's too young to figure out what she wants to do yet. But yeah, I mean, they're athletes. My first 2 for sure.
Okay. Do you view confidence as a skill, an emotion, or both?
God, that is really good question. Getting back to what I said, something I would have changed, letting things roll off my back, a little bit better, being able to handle what's coming up next instead of dwell on the past. I think that all kind of plays into confidence for me. And sometimes in hockey, it just seems like you have it, and sometimes it just seems like you don't. But it gets back to what I was kind of talking about earlier. Maximize your chances to have confidence by living your life the right way, hopefully away from the rink, and things will fall into place. But I think it's half and half. I would say it's half a skill, half something that, guys are better at maintaining and holding on to. And some guys are better, getting it back when they lose it. And, but I know that the quickest way to do it is, through hard work and doing things the right way on and off. That's the only way you'll have the chance to find confidence, or success, I think.
Yeah. So have you played with any guys or coached any guys whose mental performance really set them apart? And what did you notice about those guys?
Yeah, I think it's kind of almost a little bit of what we're talking about. I don't know if I could really off the cuff think of any specific guys or specific instances, but
No, that's fine.
a guy, I'll use a guy, a coach like a Ben Myers, for example, that was here a couple of years ago. He's our captain. His competitiveness, his ability to, fight through, adversity throughout the course of games or throughout the course of a season was pretty incredible. He's not the most skilled guy in the world, but he was our captain and one of the best players in college hockey because of, his makeup and how he approaches things and how he lives his life away from the rink. And I think all that builds confidence, and he knows that he's going to be prepared and ready. Because I think half of confidence is preparation, knowing that you're going to be ready to go.
Yeah. So you've coached some like high NHL draft picks, right?
Yeah.
And what do those best players have in common, and what do they do different?
I think one of it is the competitiveness. You see like the Matthew Nyes, the Logan Cooley, like when it gets down to brass tacks and the game's on the line, those guys are competitors and they're not going to lose. And it's a mindset. And it's not sometimes always there with those top guys like that all the time, but as they're learning to, harness that. But when it gets down to it, you see a difference. Ben Myers, like when we knew we were in a tight game, we knew that something was going to happen or he was going to be the guy that pulled us through, because there's just guys that, put that out, and Benny was our captain for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's, you can just kind of, as tough moments come and tough times come in games or in seasons, those guys are always the guys that are there. And I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably different with everybody, but the consistency seems, they're always there to be the guy.
Okay. Do you feel like there's more pressure when you're a Gopher?
Yeah.
How do you help the players with that?
Like that's part of the recruiting process here. I mean, I think that, we're not trying to sound arrogant or anything with it, but like, we're in the state of hockey. We're in the media spotlight. We have people watching us. Guys got to behave. They got to learn how to conduct themselves, and I think that's all stuff that goes in, when you come here that you talk about with recruits. That's why you kind of come here to get those experiences. And I think that's huge.
So what would you tell young players who want to play college hockey today?
That is probably, you're going to get I'm going to put my dad hat on for that question, which I do with our players. For me, it's simple. Here at the University of Minnesota, we're fortunate. We're right here in our state. We're always going to have good players and be able to get access to decent talent. And it's being human beings. I think being a good person and being, a quality person goes right along hand in hand with that. And I think that's the most important thing.
So you feel like, would you say that being a good guy is a plus for you as a coach?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, getting back to your previous question, what do you tell kids that want to play college hockey? Like, first and foremost, we're going to be attracted to your talent right off the get-go, but that's where the ball starts rolling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you got to do background work. And I mean, I think you can see everybody talks about culture. Every team talks about culture, and it's for a reason, because it's important. It can make or break your team. And, hopefully, I would tell a kid that's looking to play college hockey, your best bet is, if you're a good player, to make sure that you have all those other things in place. I call your third grade teacher. That person tells me that you're, a good human being. Yeah. See the work, all that stuff has to fall into place. And I just think if you don't do those, you might still get there because you're a good player. But why would you close doors? Open every door possible.
Right.
Academics, be a good person, hold the door for the lady coming into the grocery store. Like, all that stuff adds up, and it'll give you the best chance.
Okay. Is there anything that happened as a player that influences the way you coach now?
No, I mean, not like specifically. I mean, I just, again, I'm not an expert in hockey, in any field. With our guys here, I just try to, like you said, bounce off my experiences and, what I've done and what I've been through, because I've had some ups and downs in here. I've had, tough years, tough games. And again, I'm not an expert, but I've been through some of it, and I can just hopefully try to relate and give them advice on, that part of it. We do the hockey stuff and we talk about hockey tactics, but a lot of, what I do with our guys too is everyday stuff. see what's going on in their world, because I think all that stuff's really important to success on the ice.
So you take time to get to know the guys?
I do. And I mean, it's not like me being, I got to do that. That's my job. It's kind of organic. For my job right now, I'm in there with the guys, and I like to be, and, they, trust me and kind of be the go-to guy to get the pulse of what's going on in the locker room, and just make sure everything's okay. Yeah. So that's kind of really like to do. And I think it's a good benefit for them guys to have, and as well as myself.
Tell me about one of your favorite games as a Gopher, as a player.
As a player, it's definitely, the Final Five championship against North Dakota, the Wheeler diving goal, I was out on the ice for that. It was pretty special, sold out X Center.
The Wheeler goal?
The diving goal, yeah. So I was out there on the ice for that. Clearly that one stands out. There's been some epic games here. I think we pounded Michigan one night, like 8-1 or 7-1, just ran them out of the building. I think my sophomore year, maybe that one's kind of stands out in my mind. And then we played North Dakota a couple weeks after the Wheeler goal in the regional final and lost in double overtime. That was at the Pepsi Center in Denver. That's a lot of good games. One game, unfortunately, the Holy Cross game up in North Dakota, I was a part of that one too, so that's a negative memory. But so much fun, so many good games that I got to be a part of, and that's partially why the reason I knew when I left here I wanted to come back here eventually.
So you're on the ice for the Wheeler goal. I remember I was there. That place exploded.
Yeah.
He was just trying to beat out the ice.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you asked him now, he'd probably tell you he was trying to go top shelf. But I think he was just trying to beat out the icing. I just jumped out there on a line change, so I didn't really know what was going on. So I was just skating out there trying to get my bearings, and she was in the net before I could think. And so I just started jumping around and doing all that.
You got the plus for it.
Yeah, I'll take it. So, but no, that was one of the coolest games for me personally. I scored the goal early in the game too, and I had a good game myself. So it was fun. That one probably stands out as the best.
So tell me, who are some of your coaching mentors?
You know what? My father, for one. He coached my high school team. He, worked a little bit for the San Jose Sharks growing up, and did, he's a lifetime coach. So he was my high school coach. That would be probably first and foremost. And Don Lucia, Don was hard on me when I was here, but I got the chance to work for him as an operations guy. And then, I think he had a lot to do with, me getting here the second time. And, I owe a lot to Don for even bringing me here to the U for the first time. And, working with Coach Motz has been great. He's been around for a long time. We learned a ton from him. He's done a great job here, and I'm just glad to be, that he was lucky enough for him to bring me on.
I don't know if I've told you this story before, but when LeBlanc won the Hobie and I announced it, Bob accidentally took my son's Frozen 4 program to his car with him that was signed by Drew. And Bob brought it back. My son was like 5 or 6 at the time, and I always remember that as such a class move.
Yeah. Yeah. Bob's like that. And that's I owe a lot to him for taking a chance on me to come here. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there like a book, quote, a lesson that you draw from that helps you as a coach, or that you like to use a lot?
One book that I have read is the book on the New Zealand All Blacks.
Yeah.
Sweep the Sheds. It's kind of we used that with our team, and, read it as a group and went through that, a few years back. And that's a book that, one of the few that I've read a couple of times, and it really, resonates with how they do things, and how the older guys on the team are the ones that are responsible for, doing some of the grunt work and showing the young guys how it's supposed to work. There's a lot of good lessons in that book. And I thought it was a really cool read, especially for me, who don't get around to reading as much as I possibly should.
Okay. And when you hear like the phrase pressure is a privilege, what do you think?
I think pressure is a privilege. Actually, me and my wife kind of talk about it all the time, because, guys will skate out. We're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. Guys will skate out and there'll be 22,000 fans screaming, just lots of pressure. My wife will look at me and she'll go, "How did you guys want to do that? Go out there and put yourself out there in front of that many people?" I go, "That's the difference." I think it's just when people that are playing at that level were probably born with that in a certain thing, and you kind of crave that pressure. And if you are having pressure at that level, well, that's a privilege, because not many people get to do it. So that's kind of what I think that means.
So what is the biggest crowd you think you played in front of?
Probably the one at the X for that. And I mean, a couple of times in my career, I played in Berlin, actually in the DEL, and they had packed it in there 20,000+. It was pretty nuts a couple of times too. So that was pretty cool. Different atmosphere too, more of like a soccer atmosphere. But I would say crowd wise over here, that's got to be the game. That was the biggest. Yep.
Yeah. What was it like playing over in Germany? It was
fun. I mean, it's good. It was a good experience. Really, really good hockey. Really, good group of guys we had over there. A lot of North Americans. It was good. It was some of the funnest hockey I played. Plus, you get to experience the world.
What is something that, like, Blake Wheeler's played in the NHL a long time. Is he still playing?
Nope, you're tired.
You're retired. Why do you think a guy like that had such a long career?
A lot of the stuff we've talked about up to this point. I mean, I think first and foremost, he's an unbelievable player. He's got the physical tools. He lives the right way. He's a good human. He's got, a good family. Like you said, he's got a lot of things in place that have allowed him to, play and have success for a long time. And, he probably could have had a varying level of success just based on his ability, but things that he does and the way that he conducts himself allowed him to be a captain and play for a lot longer than most people.
Yeah. Are there a lot of other guys? Is there anybody else on that Gopher team you played with that played a long time in the NHL?
Yeah. I mean, one of my best friends, Alex Goligoski, same story, played North, kid from Rapids, one of my best friends. He's in my class, just finished up with the Wild, played for however 13, 14, I don't know how many years, 1,000 games. Like, he's the same way, salt of the earth, good family, good kid. Not a bad word you can find about him. It's no reason that a lot of those guys that have those long careers like that are those type of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Paul Martin, same thing.
Yeah.
He works with us here every day, 15-year NHL career. You'd never know it. Salt of the earth human. So seems like there's a trend.
Yeah. You feel like those guys are humble?
Yes. Big time, to a fault.
So that's actually also probably one of the separators, like the humility 100%. And the willingness to work and get better. And
100%. I mean, that's my belief. Yeah. And I, just through my experience and watching, those guys being a couple of my good buddies.
So it sounds like hockey has brought you a lot of really valuable relationships.
That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's true. And I think that's true about the game, about the game in general.
Yeah.
What would you say to a coach who's a little bit old school and is a little nervous about working on the mental part of the game with their players?
I mean, bluntly, I'm not an expert. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but I would say you got to get with the times. I mean, I've seen it help our players. I don't talk to them in depth about it much, but I know a lot of guys are focusing on it more, and guys that I know have made that commitment to focus on it a little bit more have seen results. That's what I see from, what I know.
No. So when you played in Europe, did people do it too?
Potentially. But even when my playing career, it's come so much further, I feel like since then, where it's more open and guys are, seeing the benefits of it even more in that, than it was even 10 years ago, I feel.
Okay. What's something that you'd like to share with parents about parenting their kids while they play hockey? You've got a unique perspective because your kid's probably a peewee, right?
Yeah, he's going to be a second year peewee.
So as you see how the game has changed since you were growing up, right? And you see the parenting, all the stuff that goes with coaching your kids or having kids in organized sports and in hockey, what advice would you give to parents about their kids and their hockey career?
Pretty simple for me. Support them, love them, be there for them, give them the tools that, they want to get better. And every kid's different and is going to have more drive than the next kid. And you got to gauge what your kid is and then just let him be him or her and stay out of the way, because there's just fine line between going overboard and you can end up hurting your kid in the long run by trying to get too involved. Just walk the line between, being a parent and being there to support them, but not doing anything that could rub the wrong way or give them a negative impression. Pretty simple.
Have you had time? Have you been able to coach your kids?
I coach them very minimally, a little talk here and there at home, but I try to stay away. I try to let them, I think it's good for them to hear from other people, get disciplined by other people, learn, how to navigate situations without me around. And it's enough for me. So I think, in coaching and baseball, I try to stay away from it and just try to be a parent as much as I can.
Do your kids know a lot about your career at the U?
I think, my son is maybe starting to. He just likes it because he's around and he gets to be in the locker room and kind of do all that fun stuff. So he thinks, it's cool. I think earlier on they're wondering why the heck's dad gone so much because, you're on the road and recruiting. Yeah. But I think they think it's cool. They're, like you said, this university is a big part of my family. And my kids, it's M's everywhere and they love going to the games, and it's a big part.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great. Do you have anything you want to add for my listeners?
No, man, I appreciate coming on here. And like you said, I'm not an expert, and that's just some of the stuff from my point of view. And like you said, I just try to be there for the guys and work on this, just kind of some of the stuff that I, see and feel. So,
yeah, well, I think what you're talking about is one of the things I often talk about with players and parents is one of the best ways to handle your mental health and your mental performance, and the best medicine is human connection. That's what I take from our conversation is that's what you're there to do. And that's the way you approach it. It's relationship building, being there for them, and being able to share your experiences so that they can use it however they want. And I think that's awesome.
You summed it up better than I could have, because you're better with the words. But yeah, I just think on the base level, being a human being is where everything starts.
Yeah.
You're not a good human.
It was great to have you on. Thanks a lot, Ben. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, man. Yep. See ya.